Again, my name is Eleazar Darnell Bazard. I'm running to be a 34th District State Representative. The average age of Flint is 30.6. The majority of the people that are running the city are 50 and above. In my opinion, they are out of touch with what the city really needs to move the city forward. Some of my candidates talk about their experience to move the city forward. But as we've seen in the presidential election, they criticize Obama for lack of experience, but we're still voting for him. So it's more than just experience. It's about what we have to move the city forward and what kind of collaborations we need to move the city forward and the proper representation of the majority of Flint to help move the city forward. I don't have the answer to everything. I don't. But the thing is collaborating with people and working with people to come with those answers so we can present that to the state and make differences in our city and our state. So again, my name is Eleazar Bazard. A change comes from change. I hope you will see that August 5th and vote me for your next state representative. Thank you.
I first want to thank the Young Democrats, the Alpha Phi Alpha, and most important, you, the voters, for attending this event. As a candidate in this race, it's very important that we choose the next representative because it's going to make the difference between the future and the past. Now, some will bring some experiences, but there's also failures in those experiences. And what's important now is looking at the future. And the future's now. It's about new leadership. It's about the Young Democrats. It's about me moving into the next position that will assist the people in the 34th District. Now, I believe that it's going to take a fundamental change in our policies, one that will require energy, focusing on Kettering University, the University of Michigan, the biofuel farm. That's very important. Secondly, we need to look at health care, the criminal justice system, reforming our courts, and certainly reforming our prisons. I ask that you carefully choose the next candidate, and I hope you choose me. I'm Richard X. Jr.
I have experienced experience, and I believe it's time now for a change to look at things with different eyes. Most politicians will ask you for at least three things. They'll ask you for your time to volunteer on their campaign, they'll ask you for money, and they'll ask you for a vote. I'm asking you tonight for two things. One is to read my literature. I've laid it out as to what I say, my background, and then what I will do. I believe I touched on nearly every issue of the questions that have come up today. So I'm asking you to take time to read the literature, and then if you're in the 34th District, to cast a vote for myself. I will appreciate it. I'm here to help the community, to build bridges across rivers, to build walkways over railroad tracks, to reach out to the community. For too long, our community has been polarized as to what side of the street you live on, what side of town you live on. To me, it does not matter. There are needs in different parts of our area. I recognize that. But we need to work together as a community. We need to reach out to each other, and then we need to embrace each other. And if we fail to do that, then we will fail here in Flint, Michigan. Thank you.
Let me also thank the Young Dems and Alpha Phi Alpha for coming together to host this event. Let me also compliment the other candidates who are running because I know that running for public office is a difficult undertaking. I just want to make one point that I've been on the front line for a long time. And, you know, I've taken a lot of shots, not all of them deserved, being on the front line. But I'm proud of every single young person that I've given a scholarship to, and I've given about $100,000 in scholarships. I'm proud of that new housing subdivision. I'm proud of every single thing that I've accomplished. And so, folks, remember what I said to you. Remember what I said to you. Term limits mean you serve 6 years. 6 years. You go there with an expectation of not having 2 years to learn the ropes. You go there with an expectation of having to deliver when you arrive. I'm ready to do that. And so I ask for your support on August 5th. Thank you.
Thanks for inviting me. I appreciate that. And thank you all for listening and paying attention. I'm an old newsman, and I can tell you, every single vote counts. Every election cycle, there's some place where somebody loses by 1 or 2 votes. And you know that there are people home kicking themselves thinking, I didn't think my vote matters. It does matter. So get out there and vote. I'm running because I'm frustrated. You've heard some of the reasons I'm frustrated as I've talked about education and not knowing what we're going to spend and knowing that they really, it seems like, don't care. I was so frustrated that I gave up a job that I love in order to do this because it's time to put up or shut up. Well, I'll never shut up, but at least this time I'm going to put up. I will go to Lansing, and I will always think of the fact that we can leave nobody behind. And whoever sits in the seat in the legislature has to think about that. We can't leave behind kids in poor schools because we're going to pay for them in the future. We can't leave those behind. We can't leave behind people with disabilities. If they just have a little accommodation, they can be more successful and be contributors. We can't just leave behind people who are mentally ill. We can't have them living under bridges and in prisons. Just a little treatment will make them contributors. We have to think about everybody all the time, because if we don't think about everybody as we're making those decisions in Lansing, we're going to be paying the difference forever. One of the things I've talked about is I'm tired of the political system that looks at the next election cycle. There are people already that are thinking about 2010. I want to think about 2020 and beyond. And as I've told many people over the last few months here, it kind of struck me one day when I was talking about looking at 2020. Do you realize that the class of 2020
15 seconds.
is going into the first grade this year? It doesn't take very long for them to graduate. We have to get started now. And that's what I intend to do. Thank you.
And I guess I'll be the last to thank everybody. The questions were really awesome, and Kyle, you did a great job as moderator. If I can toss you a little I would just leave you with the idea, there's been a lot of talk about experience and, old versus new and yada, yada, yada. The thing that I would say to you is that, experience is a nice tool, but ideas are what really matter. If you can have the most experience in the world, but if you take the wrong ideas to Lansing, all that experience isn't going to make much difference to folks like us. I'm offering the people in the 51st a different way of looking at things. I'm out there campaigning on the idea that it's time to put people first, not companies, not corporate America, not profit. I'm out there campaigning on the idea that money and special interest have poisoned our politics. It's the reason that our government serves the few and not the many. I'm convinced of it enough that I've actually made a public promise that I would not take money or even a lunch from a lobbyist, and I'm taking no PAC money. And it seems like a little thing, and sometimes people kind of go, yeah, whatever. But the fact of the matter is, if we want to change the paradigm in our government, we have to start somewhere. And it starts with individual candidates like ourselves taking a principled stand and saying we're not going to be poisoned by money and special interests. And so for those of you who are from the 51st or know folks in the 51st, if they're looking for somebody who really wants real fundamental change, which is actually thinking about a new paradigm for Lansing, not more how we can tweak the old one, I would encourage you to pass my name on. And again, thank you very much for listening to me.